Chat. If you wanna come get it, then come for it. I'm so clean, my kick's nice, I'm Chuck Norris. Minute made the beat bounce, had to jump on it. Run for it, run, Gump Forrest Gump like hollow pumps, you gotta jump. No trouble, no double, I got a stun. You don't have to look up at the stars. Make one wish, you're looking at a star. Swag so fresh, you can put it in the jar. And the way I change gear, you can put me in the car. I remember when me and Seif used to sneak in every concert door. Now I got my feet in. Every day is Get Friday, no weekend.
Good night, everyone. Welcome back to your favorite live sports show. That is indeed correct. Hashtag this just in. And we have a very, very special NBA edition episode just for y'all. Before we go any further, Happy New Year. New Year, same good show. And to bring in the new year, I had to bring in my buddy, Dwayne Marcus. Going to go talk with Marcus. What's going on, Dwayne?
Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I know this is a basketball show, but let's talk about it just for 1 second. It's 41-3. Like, we're talking about them. Let's be serious here. We sucked at the beginning of the year. We did not have a good start to the year. But when it's time to play meaningful football games in Lambeau, at home, in December, in January, we don't lose. I'm happy that the Vikings won their Super Bowl in Week 1. Good for them. Because they came all the way to Wisconsin to kick a field goal. They suck. Packers are going to the playoffs. Thank you. It's also nice that I'm here, actually. This is actually the first time in a long time, also, that I've been here on back-to-back weeks, too. Look at that.
Good things. Who we've not had on in back-to-back weeks seems like forever. My good friend Larry Marshall, on to talk some basketball. What's going on, Larry?
Not much. Happy New Year to everybody. Glad to be back. Thankfully, after years, it seems like Justin finally had me back. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, the original Marvel and Marshall. You remember that, fellas?
Yes. Who could forget?
Yeah, we didn't know. And our producer is finally back on screen. Welcome, Neil Hoyt. Ready to talk some basketball, guys?
Although I believe this is a bad mind because I see the Lakers. Stuff. I think this ain't got nothing to do with my takes on basketball. Only to point and laugh at the Laker fan. That's all right, man. All right.
No, that's true. But guys, who we can't point at right now and laugh at least is Luka Doncic. I think this last week alone, he became the first NBA player to have a 60, 20, and 10 game. That's correct. The first in the history of the NBA to have a 60, 20, and 10 game. And in the last 5 games, he's had 3 50-point outings. So, Larry, being the fact that you've not been here in months, is Luka Doncic right now NBA's best player?
I think I could say that he's probably the best regular season player. Right now, I probably wouldn't vote him for MVP, but it'd be really close. Because in terms of if he's the Yes, you didn't. I think he's the best regular season player because in playoff time, I think due to his style of play, it'd be very tricky with. He does very well in first halves, but he runs out of steam in second halves. And that style of play, that ball dominant James Harden style of play, that every time the ball runs through you 24/7, I think in the playoffs, teams can figure that out. You can scheme for that. There's no bells and whistles to the style of play. It's very predictable, and over a 7-game series, teams can figure out Luka. I mean, he's been very good in the playoffs as well, but as we saw in the Western Conference Finals, he came up short, especially in second halves. Well, Steph Curry, who I think I would put above Luka as an offensive player, because his style of play allows other players to get involved as well, be part of the offense. And Steph Curry is having a ridiculous season right now, even though he's kind of he's injured out for the next 2 weeks or so. But he's shooting a ridiculous 67% true shooting, and that's crazy for someone who takes a lot of difficult shots, threes off the move. I'd go with Steph and Giannis probably above Luka. Because of his defense, Giannis is having a pretty down year. I know Justin thinks that he's the MVP, but Giannis is having a pretty bad year by his standards. But just because of his defense and the resiliency, the attack, getting to the free throw line, I think I would put Giannis and Curry above Luka right now. Honorable mentions to KD and Jokic, but I think I will have Giannis 1, Kyrie 2, Luka 3, Jokic 4, and KD 5.
Oh, Joel Embiid.
He put Giannis number
Yeah,
one.
Joel Embiid is probably number 6. Yeah.
He put Giannis at number 1, Neil. We don't need to go any further. There was a right call. Run the credits.
But
Thank
listen,
you
but Justin, but here's the thing, Justin. I don't think that he said that because of you. Wink, wink.
I missed that one.
To try to keep it a peaceful household, right?
It may be because of a certain roommate that he has. Dwayne, given this recent month or dominance in December, is Luka right now the league's best player?
Yes, and it's actually not close. And again, look, I got on this show before the show while also yelling about the Packers, and I gave Justin grief, and it's not going to be on the show, but I just want you guys to know that the illustrious host of the hashtag This Justin Sports Show was going to have us sit down and talk about the Kings tonight, the Sacramento Kings, who haven't been relevant since Chris Webber was on the roster. And when Chris Webber was on the roster, I was like 1 year old. So that goes to show you how long the Kings, it's been to the Kings relevant. But yes, Luka this season has been so far to this point the best player in basketball, right? I hear the point about Giannis. Giannis is obviously a better defender, but you look at what Giannis has done so far this season. What has Giannis done so far this season that we haven't already seen Giannis do, right? Aside from like the 43 and 20 that he gave us on a random Tuesday late like last week, right? We don't usually see 43 and 20 from Giannis at this point in the season, but like it happens, right? Giannis is playing the way that Giannis plays basketball, right? Jason Tatum, I will say, has been playing incredible basketball. He's taken yet another step in his evolution and in his trajectory to being one of the best players, if not potentially maybe the best player in the league, firmly in the MVP race. Jokic, we know how I feel about Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is talented, but it's just boring basketball. He's not a bad player, but it's boring basketball.
That is boring MVP basketball. Hey, boring.
Look, that's fine. That's fine. Hey, that's fine. He's not better than Luka Doncic. That's all I'm saying. So, like, Luka coming into this season was already a top 5 player. And let's be honest, Luka coming into the season was actually already a top 3 player in the National Basketball Association, by my estimations, right? And he's firmly in the conversation to be the best player in the world at this point. Do I think he'll continue this as the season progresses? No, because of the high usage rate, because there's not a lot of help, because as we all know, as we've seen time and time again with Luka, when the playoffs come around, he gets tired. Still shows up, but he gets tired and becomes less efficient. But so far this season, Luka has been playing extremely efficient basketball. Justin, you mentioned it. 3 50-point games, 5 games. More specifically, Luka coming into the season had 1 50-point game in his entire career. He now has 4, and the last 3 have all come over the last 5 games. He's been playing incredible basketball over the past couple months, really. But I would say right now, like, if we're just basing off of what we've seen from opening night to today, January 1st, 2023, I would say that Luka's the best player in basketball. Overall, if we're just making rankings, Giannis is still overall the best player in basketball, even though you know just as well as I do that when the going gets tough and when it really, really matters most, I'd take KD over Giannis. But that's fine. KD's been hurt, so he hasn't been available. But Giannis overall is still the best player in basketball, but as it stands today, we're talking just based on this season. Luka's been the best player in the National Basketball Association, and I don't really think it's been that close either. Like, he's just been he has consistently been doing, like, he's been consistently head and shoulders above the rest, and he's been doing things that we haven't seen anyone do in ever, such as the 60-20-10 from a couple nights ago.
Neil, do you agree, or do you have somebody else says the NBA is number 1?
Well, this can be a boring segment because I agree with the guys on the panel because, I mean, Luka, regular season-wise, he's playing exceptionally well. And the thing is, based on his numbers and based on what we saw for the first 4 seasons in the NBA, he is taking it now to another level. So it's like, you know, just the 60-20-10 or whatever it was, that's insane. He's doing it. He's a big guard. He's, you know, seeing over defenders. He's shooting over defenders. So I think Luka right now is the best player in the NBA. If we're talking about a snapshot at the 1st of January 2023, I think he's the best player in the NBA. But both Larry and Dwayne made very good points, particularly the point about when he gets to the playoffs now. He looks really good now, but how he going to look in another 2 months? How will he look in the playoffs? And, you know, his fitness is something that has to be, you got to look at his fitness. And not only his fitness, but also his maturity in the playoffs, right? Like, can he make those plays deeper and deeper into the playoffs if he gets there in a 7-game series? Because as everybody knows, when you get into the playoffs, people are going to game plan for you. You can see a lot of different looks defensively. You can see a lot of switches and matches on you. So, and the competition gets a lot better defensively as you go further into the playoffs. So, I mean, right now we can all enjoy Luka Doncic. He is playing amazing. It is incredible some of the things he's doing and some of the numbers he's putting up. But to me, to I think this is a question that you got to kind of ask at the end of the season, right? At the end of the season, you can ask this question again, and the answer may look a lot different now. As the guy said, shout out to the the Joker, Jokic, shout out Embiid, shout out Giannis, shout out KD. Shoot, I can kind of put LeBron is not the best player in the NBA. Hold on, I'm not saying he's the best player in the NBA, but he just turned 38, and the man is playing pretty good. So, you know, I want to be clear. I am not comparing LeBron James to Luka Doncic. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying that there are a lot of players out there that are playing really well. And if right now I was to choose a player better than all of the other superstars, I would have to go with Luka Doncic.
Like you said, Neil, this is a bit boring. Like the numbers, at least, and the advanced numbers, kind of suggest Luka, because not only is he leading the league in scoring after this recent binge, but here's some advanced stats he's also leading in. He leads the league in PER, win shares, offensive win shares, offensive box plus minus, value over replacement, and he's second overall in box plus minus league. You know, the last player that did something similar like that, we gave him back-to-back MVPs. And that is indeed Nikola Jokic. Like, what Luka Doncic has been able to do in Dallas has been nothing short of incredible. And furthermore, also, like, Larry's going to laugh at me when I say this, we in Phoenix clearly made a huge mistake in that draft. Like, and I don't know how you make that mistake. You have on your roster Luka Doncic's European coach, and we often talk about the levels of sport. Like, no matter how good we think college or amateur athletes are, you know, the professional level is always a step higher. But here we had a kid. We're watching a 15, 16-year-old kid dominating what is easily, in my mind, the second best league in the entire world in the Euro League. Like, I don't want to hear any talk about NCAAs. Like, the NCAAs are not on the level of European basketball, because at the end of the day, you're talking about men as opposed to boys. But here is a 15, 16-year-old boy. He's dominating European League, and somehow the Phoenix Suns, Sacramento Kings, and others saw it fit not to draft this man ahead of who they drafted. My concerns, like the three of you, though, are what happens when defenses focus in on him on the playoffs. Simply because, like Larry said, there's no smoke and mirrors to what they do. Like, it's all Luka being ball dominant. But what also concerns me with Luka is that his ball dominance doesn't exactly lead to good players being great. I say that to say, like, role players are going to look good next to Luka Doncic. But what about a good number two? They thought that they had that in Kristaps Porzingis. That didn't quite work out. Health and other matters. They are trying that with Christian Wood, and that's not working out for whatever reason. And I think a lot of that, as Larry pointed out, is to Luka's ball dominance. And at some point, Luka's going to have to figure out a way to play off the ball and to be able to have another star where he doesn't have to dominate the ball, because they're not going to win in the playoffs like that. Good teams will focus in on you and tell you, we're going to watch other players beat you. And this Dallas Mavericks team is not built where other players can beat them. So I'm going to actually agree with Larry, and I'm going to have Giannis and Steph Curry above him because of Steph Curry's ability to play off the ball, and his off-ball ability may be even better than when he's on the ball. And then Giannis, in my estimation, the defense and everything he does, and he does make players around him better.
But here's the thing, right? The thing about it is not across you, Justin, is that you can't really go wrong, you know. I mean, Luka right now, in my estimation, is kind of the easy pick. You know what I mean? Because his recent play in the last month or so has been spectacular. But I don't know if it's fair to ask this question. No, as I said, this question is better suited for the end of the year. I think that, you know, allow us to be prisoners of the moment, because there's no Steph Curry playing right now. Giannis is doing Giannis things. But Luka is somehow taking it to another level. So it's just going to be interesting to see how he could propel them during the playoffs.
it'll be interesting to see if. Sorry, go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I had 2 points to make. One, Neil made a good point about maturity, but he went a different direction than where I was thinking, where Luka is very immature on the court, where he complains a lot. He doesn't get back on defense. He's kind of like a big baby on the court. I mean, he's exceptionally good most of the other time, but that is one area where in the playoffs and maybe in some big regular season games that it can hurt the team. And second, we say these are things we haven't seen before, but how is this much different from what James Harden has been doing in his prime? Like, it's the same heliocentric offense where one player does everything, the same step back three, the same triple doubles, the same big numbers. I would say maybe Luka is a bit better than that because he's not as bad defensively. I mean, still kind of below average, but I mean, it looks very similar to James Harden. This isn't like anything that we haven't seen before.
I can't blame.
I never see 60 and 20 before. Not me.
Yeah, well, Harden has 60, 10, and 10, right? In regulation.
60, 10, and 10 is not 60, 20, and 10. I just said.
Yeah, well, and also the difference between Harden and Luka is specifically the playoffs. Like, Luka Doncic doesn't have the talent around him to compete for a championship legitimately. But Luka Doncic already, in the few playoff runs that he has already statistically been, in this short time, one of the best playoff performers we've seen. Like, we don't see a lot of guys do the things that Luka does. The problem with James Harden, especially in the postseason, was he became extremely inefficient to the point where it was a detriment to his team. Luka's inefficiency so far hasn't been a detriment to the Dallas Mavericks as it pertains to their playoff runs. Right now, they ran into the Clippers a couple times. One time within the bubble, and they followed up that same year, beat them both times. Right? He's obviously had his moments when, again, you got one guy in Luka going up against two guys or three guys, whether it's against the Warriors, whether it's the Clippers. Like, you're probably going to lose that series. But Luka's drop off in the playoffs isn't a points drop off. It's not a production drop off. He's responsible for like half of the offensive production of the course of the season. He's also responsible for about half the offensive production in the postseason, and that just weighs on you. But he still does amazing things, and he's still not a detriment to the team. Like, we used to look at the Rockets before they got Chris Paul and was like, yikes. Like, he's like, if James Harden doesn't show up and be the James Harden that we know him to be, this team is going to lose. We say that same thing about Luka, but the issue is we don't have those concerns with Luka because even if he's inefficient, he's still going to play good basketball, especially when it counts down the stretch, whether it's an elimination game, whether it's in Game 7. I mean, I hate to make Justin sad on the first day of the year, but like he single-handedly by himself put the Phoenix Suns in their place and sent them on the brink of rebuild, which is where I think they're going to go at the end of the season. But I'll get into later.
We will get into that very shortly because who has not had any drop-off? Shockingly enough, the Brooklyn Nets. They have rattled off 11 straight wins as if Jack Vaughn is now the second coming of Greg Popovich. So, Neil.
Yes.
What has led to the Brooklyn Nets turnaround?
Their ease of schedule. My goodness. They have a very easy schedule. Like,
Love it.
Out of all of the teams that they've defeated, I think it's about 3 of them that are over 500. All of the other teams are terrible, especially on this run. Right? Would they beaten the Washington Wizards? They beaten the Hornets twice. They beaten the Raptors, Detroit, the Lakers. Point remains, right, is that first, don't let me take away from the play of.
Don't take away.
Nah, I can't. Like, to be fair, right? The Brooklyn Nets would have beaten the Washington Wizards, becoming a rounding into twice, right? Like, Raptors, you see KD is playing. Doing KD things, Kyrie is doing Kyrie things, right? And they're looking as if they're a cohesive unit. They're playing together, wins, etc., right? So, it seems like their distractions are behind them. It seems as if they are coming into their own. But that schedule, man, I gotta look at that schedule and kind of raise an eyebrow because it's easy to go in the last 15 games, 13-2 or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but they have 11 straight wins. And they're all, I think 9 of them are against very bad teams. So, I don't know. I think I mean, don't get me wrong, fellas. We got to say here in Barbados, you can only play who in front of you. So, with that being said, I too would welcome an 11-game stretch with some very bad teams to help me get back on track. Who knows? This may be the impetus to get them to kind of focus even more on basketball and get into the shape and form in a bit better. But I think to say that Brooklyn have turned it around, I don't know, man. I don't trust Kyrie. That organization still is a tinderbox. You know, they can make the playoffs now, right? But are they as good as their number one seeding? Well, not number one, they're number two, sorry. Are they as good as their number two seeding? I don't know. On paper, they are. We can just have to wait to see where they will finish at the end of the regular season. Of course, I have them to make the playoffs. Of course, they're going to be a very competitive and tough out. And who knows, they may get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know how, but they could get there. But to say that they've turned it around, I am not so convinced because it's easy to look good against bad teams. Now, when you get a stretch when the schedule in the second half look real troublesome and rough, and the losses come in fast and furious like Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, and you're pointing fingers in the locker room and everybody questioning Jock Vaughn and people questioning Kyrie's ability or sorry, not ability, but love for the game of basketball, and people looking at KD as a leader. Like, I don't know. I just they're playing well now. They look good against bad teams, and I really wish them the best. I really hope that they could keep it going. But to say that they're back on track to being what they were expected to be 2-3 seasons ago, I am not a believer of that yet.
Neil seems to have something against burning sages and looking at the earth as anything else but wrong. But Dwayne, do you believe in this current 11-game win streak? Is it a situation where Brooklyn has turned it around? Or are you like Neil, where you don't think that the competition has been really tough?
I'm a little disappointed in Neil. I'm a little disappointed in the take here. That's what Neil said is something I would expect Justin Marvel, the ultimate pessimist, to say, right? Because I think what's happened, and Neil doesn't do this often. It's the first day of the year. I'll give Neil a pass. It's also been a while since me and Neil have been on the show together, so I'm glad to be here with.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Of course. Here's the thing, right? Because Neil's right to a degree. They haven't had to face any championship contending or cream of the crop talent, right? So they haven't. And like Neil said, you have to play who's in front of you. Like, it's not like the Nets didn't pick their schedule. These are the teams that put in front of them. They have to win. Here's the thing. Aside from the absolutely dominating performance against the Warriors a few days before Thanksgiving, or a few days before Christmas, when they beat them by 30 and had 91 points in the first half, all of these games have been relatively close. I think the largest margin of victory outside of that was the 18-point win over the Bucks the Friday before Christmas. So I said that to say this, right? And I tweeted about this. I tweeted this the other day. The Nets have won 11 straight against questionable competition, sure. But if the Nets had lost these 11 games against this possibly questionable competition, we'd be sitting here, and the question would be, what's wrong with the Nets? Why can't they live up to expectations? What's wrong with KD? What's wrong with Kyrie? Should they just blow it up? All this, all that, right? So they've won 11 straight. And you look at the teams they've played Atlanta twice. Atlanta's 2 games under 500. That's not a bad basketball team. I think they played one of those games against Atlanta without Trae Young. The Cavs are a good basketball team. Let Justin tell it. Giannis is the second coming of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and they beat Milwaukee. I know they beat down on the Warriors, but again, they didn't have Steph, so maybe that's a question mark there. The Raptors, I think, are better than their record shows. Like, they haven't played completely garbage basketball teams. The Pacers, I think, are a lot better than what people give credit for. They beat them by 3. Like, these have all been close games, and it's taken Herculean efforts from both KD and Kyrie on this stretch to get the job done. So I'm not going to say they've turned it around, although maybe they have. Like, maybe this is what KD and Kyrie wanted. Maybe KD and Kyrie kind of wanted just a guy to be the head coach that isn't okay, that is okay with, and I'm just speculating here, but like is okay with giving up the reins and just kind of letting KD and Kyrie go out there and just hoop, right? Which we all know Steve Nash was not doing. He was terrible at his job during his stint as the head coach. Like, maybe that could be the thing. I'm not going to say this is a turnaround. I'm not going to say this is a shock. I'm not going to say that they've won these games because it's bad competition. I'm just going to say Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have been playing over this last, what I think would stem out to be like a month and a half or so. And if you go back a little bit further to a little bit before Christmas or a little bit before Thanksgiving, they've only lost 2 games in the last like 2 months. Like they've been playing really, really, really good basketball. KD has been playing at the top of his game over these past few months, as has Kyrie. And so I'll put it that way. Both of these guys are just locked in, and they've both been averaging like close to 25 points a game over the stretch as well. Like it's taken a lot. Like they played bad competition, but it is still taken a Herculean effort on both KD and Kyrie's part to get the job done. So I'm just hesitant to call it a turnaround. I would just be very interested to hear, even though I know how it would go, I'd be very interested to see what the conversation around the Brooklyn Nets would be if instead of them having won 11 straight against questionable competition, they would have lost these 11 straight games against questionable competition.
All right, real quick before Larry jumps in, right? To answer that, of course we'd be crucifying the Brooklyn Nets because they're supposed to be beating the teams that they're beating. If they were losing those games, of course we'd be talking about it to blow them up. But still, by that same token, the question is, is Brooklyn back on track? And we agree on this fundamentally, right? Fundamentally, we agree. It's hard to answer that in the positive because we don't know, what their true metal is, etc. But I think that because if the reverse was happening, if they were losing a bunch of games, we'd be crucifying them, and rightly so, because you lose into Atlanta twice, you lose into a Steph-less Warriors, you lose into the Hornets, you know what I mean? You lose into Detroit. So yes, we would be crucifying them simply because they are better than that. No, you do raise a very good point about them kind of having close games with these people, and that leads into part of the reason why I agree with you, why I don't think we can say they're back on track yet, because they're not showing that dominance that was expected 2-3 seasons ago. So for me, I think that in the end, I think we all are going to agree on the same page, right, Justin? Because I know you sometimes just come with this Bulgarian bad take. But I think all of us are
as my Skype status says, Justin has 1 good take a year. 1. He's good for 1 good take a year.
Yeah, and
it won't be today. Not with you having the Kings on the docket originally. I don't think he's in for a good take today. That's for sure. We'll try again next.
Already he had a bad take, but yeah. So that's just my take on it. Yeah. Sorry, Larry. Sorry.
The other thing too, though, right? Because here's the thing. Here's the deal. The Hawks, like there are teams on this over this stretch where you look at it and you say you lose that game like it's unacceptable. Like the 2 games against the Wizards, you lose those games. I'd have a problem with that. Especially because I think 1 or 2 of those games Bradley Beal didn't play. You lose the games against the Hornets, I'd have a problem with that as well because outside of LaMelo Ball, they don't have anything. But we all looked at the Hawks after they traded for DeJounte Murray, and we thought that this is a team that could potentially make the playoffs. So if we're looking, well, Justin, you're weird. But like the Atlanta Hawks are firmly in the log jam of teams in the Eastern Conference that's not in Milwaukee or Boston or Philly to a degree that have a legitimate argument to be potentially a playoff team, not to mention they were just a playoff team 2 years ago, right? The Pistons, bad basketball team. You lose to the Pistons, that's unacceptable. The Cleveland Cavaliers, again, in that bracket. The Raptors were a playoff team last year. So, like, when you look at it, a lot of it, I think, has to do with the fact that, like, they saw a handful of these teams they saw twice in this stretch. So, it was just like, we're just going to do the exact same thing to you this time we did last time. If you can't stop it, that's on you. There are a couple of games where it's like, okay, you lose this game. It's unacceptable, like, again, the Magic and the Hornets and things like that. By and large, I would just say, like I said, the Nets can only play with who's in front of them. And while it's not a complete turnaround, this does, I think, at least for me personally, as a fan of Kevin Durant, as a fan of Kyrie Irving, and as a casual fan of the Brooklyn Nets, this does give me hope to the future so that when they do have to, for instance, go on the road and play the Pelicans in a couple days, on this Friday, actually, when they do have to go back to Boston to play the Celtics, when they have games like that against bona fide teams so far that we look at the season, we say this is going to be one of the teams that are going to be like in the mix down the stretch. That if they play how they've played over these last 11, then there's no reason to think that they can't play that way against a team like a Boston or a team like New Orleans and get the job done. So I would look at it that way. If they keep playing the way that they're playing, they can be a team, a tough out, like you said, a very tough out if KD and Kyrie are playing to the best of their ability and they're just focused on basketball and everyone's committed to winning basketball games. Because despite the roster not being what it should be or what it once was, this roster as a whole, not just KD and Kyrie, has been locked in for this 11, even though obviously KD and Kyrie have been leading the way.
Larry, if y'all think that I am pessimistic, wait to hear from Larry. Take it away.
Well, I know Justin wants to talk about certain coaching and coaching changes as the reason, But I'm gonna go. I don't even want to talk about the schedule. The schedule is what it is. You only play who's in front of you. So there's no point in nitpicking. Oh, they only played soft teams. Like, that's irrelevant. I don't even think that the team was in turmoil from a record perspective. They played 7 games under Steve Nash. They went 2-5. Then they didn't have their full team. There was no TJ Warren. There was no Seth Curry. Then Kyrie Irving did his Kyrie Irving thing, got suspended. Ben Simmons was injured as usual, and it was just KD. And the team was in a rut. And now that they have their full squad, the team that they expected to be on opening night, they're winning games. And we expected them to win games from before the season. We said, oh, they have KD, they have Kyrie, 2 of the best ISO players in the league, and I think both players are having very good seasons. So I think it was a bit I think the demise of Brooklyn was a bit premature. So the question of have they turned it around, I think pretty much they have like what most teams go through in the regular season, ups and downs. It's just that their season started on a down and they had the drama of Kyrie. But one player, yes, I'm going to give this one player some credit. For this player has turned it around. What I will say, this player, Ben Simmons, has turned it around. For the first few games under Steve Nash, he was shooting 44% from the field and 40% from the free throw line. Now, over the last 2 months, he's averaging about almost like 8 points a game. What to do for number one pick, I know, but he's playing good defense. He's actually scoring baskets. He's not looking as bad as he was before. And the defense, the intangibles are there. So, and I think that's something that is needed because KD and Kyrie, they're going to do what they do. They're going to give buckets. No one can stop them. And they need the other players to kind of fill in those points, fill in the in-between, like Nick Claxton, who's having a good year on both sides, can't hit free throws. TJ Warren, since he's come back from injury, the team has only lost 1 game. So Brooklyn, I think they're on track to be a good team. Are they championship contenders? Are they as good as Boston? Are they as good as Milwaukee? I think that remains to be seen because they watched the Bucks the other day, but I think we need to see more against like tougher competition, like this game against the Pelicans, as Marcus was saying. We need to see them in these type of battles to see what they're really made of. Okay, I don't think we are there just yet. But Marcus said before how Steve Nash was a horrible coach, which may be true, and how Jack Vaughn is just letting them play. I think that is my criticism of Steve Nash, that he just let KD and Kyrie just do what they wanted. There was it's similar to like Luka. There was no smoke and mirrors, no bells and whistles to the offense. It's just KD, ISO. If he gets double, he passes to open shooter. Same thing with Kyrie. Kyrie dribble the dots off the ball, take a fadeaway. If it goes in, great. If it misses, is not fooling anybody. So, and I don't think Jack Vaughn is doing any different. That's why I know Justin's going to say, oh, Jack Vaughn, he's changed this, he changed that. I think the team is playing the same way. They're just playing better. Sometimes players just need to play better. And I think the team overall is just playing better. Huh?
I'm teams.
So,
yeah,
everything can be, multiple things can be true at the same time. So to Larry's point, yeah, I think health has a lot to do with it. You got, TJ Warren back, and now you have healthy Ben Simmons, as well as you can't look past the fact that for the moment right now, there are no Kyrie Irving distractions. For however long that's going to last, we don't know. But recent history tells us not for very long. But, you've had a lot of health. Your team, for the most part, is healthy. You've got Kyrie Irving focused seemingly on basketball. And, but here's where he pushed back a little bit on Larry. You can't overlook what Jack Vaughn has done because you brought up a point here. No, because simply you made the point that what Ben Simmons looked like to start the year under Steve Nash and what he looks like. No, you can't say that he's the same player. He hasn't changed bodies or anything. So then you have to point and say, well, this is coaching. And part of coaching comes in set roles. So it's no longer just Kyrie and KD that's going one-on-one. There are set roles within the team. So you brought up the point, Nick Claxton. He's looking good at both ends. Again, that comes with set roles, which comes from coaching. Like under Steve Nash, it was like basically, like you said, go out there, scrimmage, and do what you all want to do. With Jack Vaughn, you can see there are clearly defined roles. The defense has gotten a lot better, but primarily that may have to do again with Neil bringing up the point that it's a very soft schedule. So I'm here to see everything can be true at the same time. It could be a situation the schedule is soft, and it really was, even though they did pound Milwaukee, but Milwaukee has some injuries. I don't think Chris Middleton played in that game, but that's another conversation for another time. But his schedule was a bit easy, but I am not one. You can't have it both ways. I can't roast Brooklyn for losing these type of games and then, say, oh, well, they're supposed to win these games. That you can't get it both ways. Like Larry said, a lot of players are coming back, and you just can't really look past the coaching. And like Dwayne said, maybe this is who they were supposed to be all along, so the turnaround maybe is a bit harsh to say. And I don't really know if we can make a judgment, as you all correctly said, until we see the games against the Pelicans, until we see games against, Boston and a fully healthy Milwaukee team, and maybe even to a point Philadelphia, who I really don't have much faith in. But, guys, that's another conversation for another day. Dwayne could have brought this up, but I won't start with him on this time. Larry will start with you this time. There are reports that a certain head coach, one of my favorite ones, Nate McMillan, is looking to resign from the Atlanta Hawks. And I think part of that background we saw earlier in the season, there seems to be some butting of heads with the star player, Trae Young, to the point where there was a game where he was a healthy scratch. Kind of weird for a top 20 NBA player, we all can agree. So, Larry, considering there seems to be some sort of tension between Nate and Trae Young, and obviously Trae Young is not going anywhere anytime soon, should Nate really consider resigning as the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks?
I mean, if I want to watch good Hawks basketball, yes, Nate, he should. I know Justin loves Nate McMillan, but I told Justin from when he was hired, I'm not a big believer in this old school type of basketball, this whole mid-range, heavy mid-range, low three-point shooting attempt basketball. That basketball cannot survive in today's NBA. And know that he has DeJounte Murray is oh gosh, heaven, I could just he can shoot all the mid-rangers he wants. And you have Trae Young, who is probably one of the 5 best offensive players in the NBA today. And the Hawks are somehow just a decent offensive team. This team was second in offense last year. And we could say, oh, well, they traded Kevin Huerter and then got DeJounte Murray. So maybe that's the move. So we could look at the general manager instead, who also resigned recently. And now Landry Fields is the general manager. We could say, well, maybe it's not Nate McMillan's fault. Maybe it's the general manager that gave him these pieces. And Nate is just using the pieces he has to play the best of his abilities. But at the same time, it seems as though Trae Young doesn't like the style of basketball that he's coaching this year. And just again, all the teams that we spoke about before, the offense is not imaginative enough. It's just your turn, my turn with DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. And they need more three-point shooting. John Collins is just a guy who doesn't know what his role is. And as you said, roles come with coaching. So that has to be on Nate. And whether he should resign, I think obviously he will know but in the end, he probably should just stay to get paid, right? And let them fire him. So, but in all honesty, I think his coaching has been a disappointment. No, yes, they made the Eastern Conference Finals, but come on, no, we all know that Philadelphia team more imploded than the Hawks beat them. Nate wasn't out there. I mean, Justin could outcoach Doc Rivers in the playoffs. I mean, it wasn't that hard. Come on. So, and I recently saw a comment that Nate McMillan made recently about his he can't see eye to eye with today's players. How when he played, these current players play a different style of basketball, which tells me that he maybe head coaching this type of basketball that succeeds in this era is not for him. That old school, when he had Brandon Roy and Portland, that slow it down. No transition offense, low turnover, no mistakes offense. Yeah, that was good 15 years ago, but come on, like when you look at the offensive firepower and the offensive ratings that teams have nowadays, where they just shoot, every team just plays Phoenix Suns 7 seconds or less, transition heavy, first opportunity, 3-point jacking, like that is what's winning in today's game. And if you can't coach that, then you're going to get the basketball has passed you. So I know Justin likes that style of basketball, but that is not winning. And Nate either has to become more modern or he needs to let somebody else do the job.
Dwayne, you think they're going to fire him? Should Nate resign? Or do you think there's a chance that he, Trae Young, and the organization can make it work at some point?
I think you're muted.
Sorry. Not as old as you are, Justin. So I'm gonna need your oldness for this. How many times in the history of any sport, really, but specifically basketball, has the star player and the head coach not getting along or not seeing eye to eye, not ended up with one or both of them not being on this team in some capacity in the near to distant future? I can't in the
LeBron and Spoelstra.
That's as far back.
I was gonna say, and that's the only one other than I can think of off the top of my head, and that's why I need some help here because that's the one I know.
Get along either party.
Say again.
Apparently, Shaq and Pat really didn't get along either, but that's as far.
Well, no one got along.
Those two instances, that's it.
But so here's the point, though, right? Like the point is, you have a situation in Atlanta, right, where the GM, as you alluded to, like he's already gone, like and they've already had a new guy in there. If Trae Young is supposed to be the future of this franchise, and if Trae Young is supposed to be the face of this franchise, then it would make the most sense that whether it's by resignation or whether it's by firing, we're not going to see Nate McMillan in Atlanta much longer. Like, maybe he makes it to the end of the season, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make it to the end of the season. Like, this is a basketball team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years ago. I get it. It was because of an implosion by the Philadelphia 76ers, but they got there, right? They're already looking to shop John Collins, which means they're already looking to make changes. So it wouldn't at all surprise me if they say, you know what, we're going to shop John Collins and Nate McMillan, you can go on about your merry way, go be an assistant coach or go be on the coaching staff somewhere else or go be the head coach for another basketball team next season. Like, that is not out of the realm of possibility to me because I truly, truly, truly believe that in this case, for the Atlanta Hawks, a team that has not in any of our lifetimes, well, maybe Justin's because you're really old, won an NBA championship.
Hey, let him on speak. Let him on speak, Justin.
Neil,
no, come on, Larry, come on.
It's been a long time, like a really long time, since the Hawks have even sniffed an NBA championship, like legitimately. Do you know what I mean? And Trae Young is supposed to be, he's been framed as, and he's played as such so far in the playoffs when he's been there, as the guy that could be the one to deliver some type of championship success to the Hawks. Do I think he could do it by himself? Of course not, because there's not many people ever that have done it by themselves. There's always been some help along the way. And this roster needs to be better, but the coaching, the head coach and the best player on the team have to get along. And I really, really, really believe that this is one of those rare instances in sports where the young guy that's the face of the franchise can pretty much get whatever he wants because the organization recognizes that if we don't have this guy on our roster, we're not going to be relevant. We're not going to be competing for the playoffs. We're not going to be competing for championships. So I agree with you, Justin. I like Nate McMillan. I think he's a a good head coach. I also agree with you, Larry, though. I don't like old school basketball. There's all let's shoot mid ranges in an era where literally I just watched a college basketball game maybe a month or so ago, if maybe a little less than that, where literally all they did was shoot 3-pointers. 100-something 3-pointers were shot in that game. Like that's the era of basketball we live in, is just 3-pointers. Of course, you're not going to win that way, but we need to recognize, we need to get with the times. So Nate McMillan, I think he'll get hired somewhere else, but I don't think we see Nate McMillan as the Atlanta Hawks head coach for much longer. At the very least, I think out of decency and respect, if he doesn't decide to leave, the Hawks will keep him until the end of the season, whether that's in the regular season, whether it's in the postseason, run to make the playoffs. But I don't think come next year, when the season starts next year, Nate McMillan will be the head coach, because I think the Hawks are going to prioritize the wants and the needs of Trae Young over the wants and the needs of Nate McMillan. You can always find someone else to be the head coach and try to get him to get along and mesh with Trae Young. There's not many other young guys that you can get to be the face of your franchise, to be able to build around, to try to make a roster that can compete for a championship.
Neil, I feel like we're going to all agree here that Nate McMillan needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I ain't going to say much here, because I am going to say essentially what Larry and Dwayne said in combination, because it never felt like a good fit. Nate McMillan is that old school type of coach, defense first, pass around the ball, and take the open mid range, try to get something closer to the basket. Whereas Trae Young is a player that extends it to about quarter court. So it never was a good fit. And then in today's NBA too, these kids ain't trying to play defense like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, defense will be played, but they're not trying to, play to that old school, hard nose, put somebody on the back kind of thing. Yes, they did get to do that. Definitely not Trae Young. He ain't about that, like, he likes skin. But going to they made the Eastern Conference Finals, and if they were to repeat that success, it would be interesting to see if they have that grit, that grain, and that metal to kind of get gritty and grimy and dirty with it, right? And play at that kind of level defensively, and do what they can to get around defenses to have great looks at the basket. I don't think Nate McMillan is that coach. I don't think he's a very dynamic. He always struck me as even when he was playing, a no-nonsense, straight-laced, this is how it is, my way or the highway, kind of do things the proper way, pass with the thumbs down, kind of, snack, kind of, like fundamental, straight basketball coach. And I want to be very clear, there's nothing wrong with that. I just, as Dwayne was saying, he is better suited for another team. Another team, let's say, like being on somebody else's team, man. I'm just saying. The point is
our team in Europe.
Our team in Europe. But yeah, I don't think he is well suited for. I actually think there are a couple of NBA teams that could benefit from him being on their bench as an assistant coach. I just don't think it's the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks strikes me as a very free, fluid, play by the city of pants kind of team that will, rally together and make it happen. And they're a young team. And trying to hear no old man from the 80s and 90s talk about how one slide with the basketball and I want 3 passes to get the open mid range. Like, I'm trying to hear that. This ain't glory days. This ain't,
who's your basketball?
Who's your basketball? This ain't, nobody trying to hear that. So I do agree. I think he should consider resigning because it just is not a good fit. And then the details that came up between the friction between him and Trae Young, basketball is just not like that anymore. No, granted, we can have a whole discussion around the entitlement of today's superstars and if that is something that we could talk about or not. But by the same token, you still have to kind of not encourage bad behavior, but you still have to work with your team. And you can't just bench the best player of your team, your franchise player, and have him as a healthy scratch. You can't. Yeah, you feel like playing. You ain't coming to shoot around today. You ain't coming to walkthroughs, but don't turn up to basketball then. That ain't gonna really work, especially with ownership. So he's not endearing himself to anyone in the organization by doing that. And as Dwayne did make an allusion to, he more than likely will not be there next season. So as Justice said, hang on for the paycheck, and many people get rid of you, but he should consider resigning if he does have other offers on top or he wants to explore the market sooner rather than later.
someone's going to hire Nate McMillan. He's not a bad head coach. He's just not the fit.
I think this is his last go around. At least from a head coach. He could be an assistant coach, but I don't think, because when you have friction with star players, who's going to hire someone who has friction with star players after this recent run-in with Trae Young?
But that friction could be as simple as just like a difference in philosophy. Do you know what I mean? Which is why I think there are teams out there that like to attack the mid-range and be just mid-range warriors. That's just not the way that Trae Young and the Hawks should be. That's not the way they should be structured.
And none of those teams are good teams.
Well, let Dustin tell it. The Suns are a good team, but we see how that's going.
No.
No.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You see how that's going for them.
So here's the thing, right? Like, it's going to get tricky because as much as I make Nate the former Sonics player and as a former Portland Trail Blazers head coach, Larry's correct. Like, his philosophy is not for today's NBA. Like, when you look at it, no team, with the exception of probably my Phoenix Suns and maybe the New York Knicks to a point, believe in this mid-range philosophy anymore. And when you're going to come down to it and management ownership has a choice, you're really going to choose the star player over the head coach because, like you all said, you can find a head coach dime a dozen. But a player of Trae Young's with that offensive repertoire, they're few and far between in the league. Now, he has issues playing defensively, and Larry will tell you, I'm the first person who had an issue with that trade for DeJounte Murray because regardless of head coach, those two players do not fit together. It should not take Zach Lowe coming on a podcast to say this is not a good fit. Like, it was obvious these two players are not a good fit because Trae Young does not play off the basketball and DeJounte Murray cannot play off of the basketball. That is obvious. It is going to get weird, like y'all said, because the general manager is no longer there. He's gone already. But the reason why I feel like Nate should resign, as much as Larry's correct, is say, just hold on and wait for them to pay you. The issue is apparently ownership likes Nate. And ownership has gone on record as saying that they do not feel like moving Nate McMillan anymore. Or at all. And here's the problem, like, you're not going to move Nate, but Nate and Trae Young clearly are not adding up. So, like, what is the purpose? Like, it doesn't make any sense Nate sticking around because you're only going to frustrate yourself, you're going to frustrate the organization. The roster is badly built. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, yeah, you can stick around for the paycheck, but, like you're wasting everyone's time. And now, to Dwayne's point, I want you to know that Neil is a year older than me. Larry is a year younger.
Listen, but hold on. We talking basketball. What we
hold on.
You work with the government? We talking basketball. Right. You want to know my age?
Look at you trying to expose the great Neil Hoyt out here live on the internet. And this is why this is why you only have one good take a year, because you just dabble in things that you don't need to be dabbling in.
And the reason I bring this up, in all our combined ages, the Hawks were never relevant in any of our times. Not your time, not our time, not the time before.
They were never good, ever good.
They had that one stretch like in the early 2010s, like it was like 15, 16, when they had like 4 all-stars like playing really good basketball. But that's it.
Finals.
That was a fake team.
Well, no. But they were relevant though in a minuscule capacity. They were the Warriors as far as like getting multiple players into the All-Star game before the Warriors did it for like 3 straight years.
The Hawks are
good for Atlanta.
The Hawks, Dwayne, are so irrelevant, right? That people don't turn up to their home games. I'm talking about fans. To the point, you can basically see the Atlanta Hawks are probably number 3 or number 4 in pecking order in terms of major teams within the city. Like, it's probably the Braves first, the Falcons, and then the Georgia Bulldogs. The Atlanta Hawks are so far down the pecking order. They're not even relevant in their own city.
Well, we're also talking about the great. I'm gonna say we're also talking about the great city of Atlanta, Georgia, that has a lot of attractions and a massive sports market. Number 1, number 2. Most people don't go to Falcons games to see the Falcons. They go to Falcons games for business because it's a flex or because they want to go see someone else beat on the Falcons. It's why I go to Wizards games. It's to go see other players beat on the Wizards.
At least they go to the games though, because no one goes to Atlanta Hawks. So I say all that to see you are in a huge sports market with a team that has absolutely no following. You have a fledgling superstar that doesn't play defense, a head coach that you like but does not mesh in today's NBA. Like, this is a dumpster fire. Like, I don't know where the Atlanta Hawks go. And the reality situation is, what assets do they have to trade to move to get even better pieces? Like, absolutely none. And that's why if I'm the general manager, I'd be happy to leave. Like, this is not a good situation. You know what else is not a good situation, though?
I know that. But every time I hear trade, right?
No,
this man
no,
try to make some sort of mad segue. Like,
I'm actually going to rain on Justin's parade as soon as we get here, Neil. Don't worry. I got your back today, bro. I got your back.
You'd be the only person, because while the Atlanta Hawks have absolutely no assets to trade, neither does Neil's Los Angeles Lakers.
What a false statement that is. Look at you starting off the new year with a terrible.
I don't know what assets they have to trade, and neither does Neil. So, Neil, right now, considering that even though, and you talked about LeBron James, and yes, after his 38th birthday or before his 38th birthday, LeBron James has really been playing well. He has scored 30 or more in 8 of the last 10 games, but that has meant absolutely nothing because the Lakers are still in 13th in the West with a record of 15-21. So, considering, Neil, you seem to be wasting the last breath of LeBron James, do the Lakers need to make a trade before the trade deadline?
It would be nice if they could make a trade somehow, cobble together some sort of trade or anything like that, because we need size. The only size we have is the only size we have of worth is Anthony Davis, and he's street clothes. You know what I found absolutely funny? When I was doing the graphics for this lower third, you have LeBron in uniform, you have Russell Westbrook uniform, and they're plain clothes, street clothes. Anthony Davis in his green sweater, looking chic. You know what I mean? Like, it would be nice to have 2 big men. I take 2 power forwards, right? I would take anyone that could protect the rim a little bit. Probably give me 6 to 8 points. I'd take it. You understand what I mean? Not saying that I would trade any of the, I don't want to call them big 3, but for lack of a better term, I wouldn't trade any of them. But we do have to. No, I would trade Russell Westbrook. I know, but come on, no. I got a better chance of trading, my property. I don't know. You can't get rid of Russell Westbrook like that. So I personally would like to see a trade. There are some proposed trades out there, 3-team, 4-team trades that would have some size come into the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think the question that you asked me about assets, that's a bit. I think we could trade pieces. I don't know about assets. In that, the reason why I say that is because we got LeBron, we got AD, we got Russell Westbrook, right? Chances are they're not going to move. I would be shocked if Russell Westbrook goes from the team before the trade deadline. But all the other people are up for grabs. The problem is we have no defense. We can't stop nobody. And outside of LeBron James and outside of sometimes healthy Anthony Davis, we have no scoring. So we can't even pick a poison. You know what I'm saying? We can't even hang our hats on offense. We can't even hang our hat on defense. We literally can't hang a hat. We got a hat and we can't play it nowhere, right? So we need size. I think if we can find a serviceable big man that can give us, like, I literally would take 8 and 4, 8 and 5 and 2 blocks. That's a tall order, but I would take that. We need size. We need somebody other than Patrick Beverley to be a perimeter defender, because Patrick Beverley is not that guy. He was never that guy, in my opinion. Russell Westbrook, he looks the part, but he really is not the part. LeBron at 38 is going to save himself for the offensive end and the chase on blocks, but he really is not slated with no perimeter players like that. He would give a stellar effort. Lonnie Walker, he's a decent player. Austin Reeves, decent player. But we need size and we need rim protection. Either that or find offensive players that could fill up the stat sheet. And since that ain't happening, that ain't coming, you ain't getting nobody with no huge offensive prowess to come. Okay, you give it Buddy Hield, you pass on that opportunity. So looking at Buddy Hield or anybody like that, no, nobody ain't trying to come around that. And given the fact that LeBron James is in his twilight years, 30 years old, probably if he has another 5 years, but he is showing that he is beating Father Time, but eventually Father Time will catch him. I think the best thing for the Lakers is try to cobble together some trade for a couple bigs. I just want size. I just want people to see the ring and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't go in there. At least think about it. At least consider, maybe going up against this dude may not be the best thing. Dwight Howard is still around the place. He's playing where in
Taiwan.
somewhere and mauling down the place. Give him a call. I mean, they may be a little disgruntled. He did say in an interview recently that he won't mind coming back, but it matters not. The man is mauling, right? I think people that guarding him is like 5'6". I mean 6'6". That's 39 and 12. Easy every night. But yeah, for me, I would like the Lakers to make a trade for length and size. Something to deter people from going to ring. Shoot, at this point, I don't even care if they are legitimate rim protectors. I just want somebody to say, just hesitate, just for a fraction of a second. Maybe I should not throw that pass into the key. Maybe I should not venture into the key and try a layup or try to dunk on this big man. Just to think about it. Not saying they can stop anybody, but at least at this point, you got to kind of do something to make people consider you, because people figure you on offense. So you got to try something on defense. That's just my thing.
Larry wanted to come to you, but Dwayne said that the Lakers do have these assets. So I want to hear exactly what these assets are that's not named LeBron James.
Get him, Dwayne. I got you. Come on, dog. Let's go.
Can I just ask a couple questions specifically to you, Mr. Justin Marvel, host of the hashtag This Justin Sports Show? Very quick. I want yes or no answers. I don't need any dipsy doodle or any long drawn out answers. Just yes or no. Okay. Very quickly. Kawhi Leonard plays for the Los Angeles Clippers. Would you consider Kawhi Leonard to be a tradable asset at this point? Yes or no? No. No.
Right?
No. Kawhi Leonard's not a tradable asset? No.
No, the Clippers are not going to trade Kawhi Leonard.
That's not what. Look at you not answering the question. See how this? Look at us getting off the year on the wrong spot. No, the question. No, I didn't ask you. I did not ask you if Kawhi Leonard is untradeable, as an untouchable. What I'm asking you is, if the Clippers tomorrow say Kawhi Leonard's on the block, yes or no? Would teams not call to inquire about Kawhi Leonard? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Paul George. Would teams not inquire about Paul George if Paul George was put on the block tomorrow? Okay. Yes. Both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George since 2020 have missed more games in the NBA than Anthony Davis. So can we dead this narrative of Anthony Davis being street clothes and being hurt all the time? Because he's played more games since 2020 than Kawhi Leonard. And no one sits here and complains about Kawhi Leonard missing games. No one sits here and gets all Paul George for missing games. So, okay, no. You don't, actually. You spend a bunch of time. You actually spend a bunch of time talking about how great Kawhi is and how great Paul George is. That's number one. So this Anthony Davis, this street clothes Anthony Davis narrative needs to stop, because the beloved Kawhi Leonard and Paul George across the hall in the Clippers uniforms, who haven't won anything since they proclaimed that LA is now their city, have missed more games, both individually, than Anthony Davis is. That's number one.
Nobody cares about the Clippers.
No one wants. That's fine. No one cares about the Clippers. But if we're gonna pull the injury card, let's pull the injury card. Right? There are players across the league that are tradable assets that have missed more time. Matter of fact, Zion Williamson, who in the first couple years of his career only played 81 games. Last I checked, Justin, an NBA season is 82 games. Yes, 82 games. Right? Okay.
You are saying all this to say that the Lakers can trade Anthony Davis. That's what you're saying.
What I am saying to you is, people like you and a lot of people have this thought that Anthony Davis. I'm not saying that the Lakers would trade Anthony Davis, right? He is obviously untouchable, but he is an asset where if they just say, we are going to trade Anthony Davis, people should and would call. And if people aren't calling to inquire about Anthony Davis because of injury, what I'm saying to you is, there's two guys that play in the exact same arena that have missed more time. They would get called. They would get calls for them. That's number one. Number two, Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson.
Hold on, but I'll let you continue. But the issue is, for me, I don't see Anthony Davis made untradeable because of his injury status. I believe Anthony Davis is untradeable because if the Lakers trade him, they're not going to recoup anything that's going to help them win. That's why
those are two different things. That's not the question. What you asked me was
injury situation. I don't see it as an injury situation. I think the Lakers are not in a position to trade Anthony Davis because they're going to be good without him.
I'm not saying. It depends on what they get back for Anthony Davis, honestly. Like, if you know how to build around LeBron James, you can get whatever you need back to build around LeBron James. That's number one. The point that I'm making is, you very quickly have deaded this idea that the Lakers don't have tradable assets when they do. They have one. His name is Anthony Davis. And if they wanted to trade Anthony Davis, they could. They can build around Anthony. They can build around LeBron James using whatever it is they get back from Anthony Davis. That's number one. Number two, LeBron James is also a tradable asset. They wouldn't trade LeBron James, but they could. Now, do they have tradable pieces? Yes, they do. Austin Reeves, everyone on the roster not named Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James is tradable. Pat Bev is tradable. Austin Reeves is tradable. Thomas Bryant is tradable. Like, let's stop acting like there aren't people on this roster that they can trade away. There are people on this roster that have actively been rumored from the beginning of the seasons to be potentially put in multiple different trade packages, whether it's straight up trade packages, whether it's 3-team trade packages, whether it's these massive, disgusting 4-team trade packages to make this team better. The Los Angeles Lakers are fine. Anthony Davis has not been playing basketball, and that is why the Lakers have not been winning games, because we live in this era of duos. It doesn't matter, as great as LeBron James is, that he's dropping 30 points every other night. He needs someone else. He can't do it by himself. Giannis can't do it by himself. Jason Tatum can't do it by himself. Joel Embiid can't do it by himself. As much as you love him, Nikola Jokic can't do it by himself either. Like, that's just the world of basketball that we live in right now. The Lakers have tradable assets. That's not the issue for the Lakers. The issue for the Lakers is the assets that they want that are being put in these trade packages. For some reason, Rob Pelinka doesn't want to give up. I don't know why Rob Pelinka is holding so tightly onto a 2027 first round pick or a 2020 whatever it is first round pick. Let it go. Like, make the team better. There are assets for the Lakers to trade. Would people agree if the Lakers decide to trade Anthony Davis? Probably not. But if the Lakers feel that trading Anthony Davis could potentially bring in other players to make the team better, I bet they do it. I bet they do it. If they could somehow figure out a way to find a team that would take on Russell Westbrook's obnoxiously large contract to trade him away, to bring in players, to build around AD and LeBron James, to make the team better, I bet they do it. So let's stop acting like the Lakers don't have tradable assets. That's not the issue. The issue is the Lakers have not seemed ever, since they've had LeBron and AD, to make any trade that is actually going to benefit the team. And they've made a whole bunch of trades that have done the complete opposite of benefiting the team, that now, in order to benefit the team, they have to undo all the bad trades that they've already done. And all these bad trades they've already done, nobody wants, really, Rob Pelinka anyway, is so dead set to make this stuff work and force this square peg into a round hole that he seemed to have no true interest to legitimately listen to or legitimately attempt to trade to make this team better. That is what's wrong with the lack of trade assets for the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers have trade assets. Let's stop acting like they don't. They just don't want to make trades for whatever god-awful reason it is. But the Lakers, even still, are fine and can make the playoffs. So it's not really that big of a deal, actually.
Larry, do you agree? Should the Lakers make a trade? And do they have players like Dwayne is suggesting that they can trade?
Well, this question really comes into my wheelhouse about team building and contracts and trades and stuff like that. And I don't know where Dwayne is getting these trade assets from, other than Anthony Davis. Like, if you trade, yes, Anthony Davis is a trade asset. But when you trade him, your team is going to be worse. The Lakers cannot win a championship without Anthony Davis. Okay, so mentioning that LeBron James and AD are trade assets.
Do we know for sure that the Lakers can't win a championship without Anthony Davis?
Yeah, well, I personally don't think that LeBron James being the best player can lead a team to a championship. And I'm assuming if you trade, because let's be real, this season, AD has been better than LeBron. Do we all agree?
Agree.
No.
Oh, no?
I agree.
I mean, when AD is played, the team is possible, and when he doesn't play,
aside from the crazy stretch when AD was averaging like 30 and 13, LeBron James has been the best player on the Lakers this season. Consistent.
To me, I would say LeBron has been the most consistent player on the Lakers. He's healthy,
yes, because
he played really well and everything
like that. More,
but a healthy Anthony Davis is a lot of murder.
This season, I think for me, this season, and this season alone, Anthony Davis has passed LeBron James as the best player in the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, yes, LeBron James is having this stretch where he's scoring 30, blah, blah, blah. But are these against good teams? Or is LeBron James leading this Lakers team to beat playoff teams, championship quality playoff teams? And I think the answer is no. I think LeBron James at 38, well, last year, I figured he was probably a top 5 player. I don't think LeBron James is a top 10 player right now. His play has not been good.
Who are the 10 players in the league better than LeBron James right now?
I mean, we already named 6 earlier.
Yeah, we did.
And I didn't even mention Jason Tatum. I didn't mention, I think Devin Booker has been playing better than LeBron James this season. You could disagree, but that's time for another show. Okay, so LeBron James, I don't think is good enough to lead a team to a championship. All of his numbers are way down, way down. His efficiency is way down. He doesn't get to the basket as much anymore. When he's on the ISO, he just revolves, goes back into the step back three. You know, the little spin the ball step back three that's not going in because he's shooting below 30% from three. And who's below him? Westbrook. So the team, I think the team overall, I don't think this Laker team is a championship quality team. And especially with Anthony Davis getting injured so much, obviously you can't rely on him to build around. So that's the setup. The tradable assets, other than LeBron James and Anthony Davis, are one, Russell Westbrook, and two, Patrick Beverley. There's no one else. Reason being, these other players don't make enough salary to trade for players who are good. Good players don't make the minimum, right? Name a minimum player that's going to make the Lakers a championship team. There's none. So, yes, Austin Reeves, who's probably Lakers' third or fourth best player, you can't trade him for anybody of quality. You have to trade Pat Bev. You could have to trade probably Lonnie Walker, who can veto any trade, and you have to trade Westbrook. So to Dwayne's point, what's Pelinka holding on to these draft picks for? Well, the reason could be if they trade Westbrook and those two draft picks for Buddy Hield and Turner. And Turner, by the way, he's played so well this season that I don't think that may not even be enough. Because Turner is having a career year.
I think that they can trade Turner because Turner just agreed to extension. So I don't even think he
did?
Supposed to be traded.
Well, then, so what trading Westbrook with AD being injured and you being 13th in the West, you're 13th in the West, you're 15-21. AD isn't coming back for another few weeks, maybe to a month. What trade can Pelinka make that is going to help them get into the playoffs and avoid the play-in and be a championship contender team? Is it worth it to trade first round pick? I don't know, because they can't tank this year because they don't have their pick. Well, sorry, they have their pick, but it's a swap with New Orleans. So why would Pelinka make a trade? Now, I'm not saying Pelinka's done a good job. Dwayne is right. Pelinka's done an atrocious, and I've been saying this for years. Like, Pelinka lucked into that bubble championship. I don't rate the Disney championship at all.
Hey, man. A ring is a ring.
But I can say that at least with that roster, the team was very good. Even though I don't think they were the best team, they were very good. And the next season, they were very good again until injuries killed LeBron and AD. And then in the playoffs, they were up 2-1 on the fifth finals team, Phoenix, until AD got injured, and then Phoenix won. But again,
Phoenix 6, not in a single game.
But again, last point. The question is, what are the goals for this season to build? And Pelinka has to think about, is this Laker team a championship team? And trading Westbrook, obviously you have to trade Westbrook. His contract is an expiring contract, so other teams don't have to worry about paying Westbrook. It's an expiring contract, is no big deal. So you have to trade Westbrook. Anybody trading for Westbrook is trading for the Westbrook contract, not the Westbrook player, the contract, if they want to get off of money. And teams wanting to get off of money, they're not going to give you any good players to get off of money. Like Bogdanovich, do you feel if they traded Westbrook for maybe Sadiq Bey, Bogdanovich, and Bagley, is that a championship team? Not to me.
And that is the real crux of the matter, Larry. You hit the nail on the head. And that's why, and again, none of us here believe Rob Pelinka is a good general manager. The problem is, as Larry suggested, Rob Pelinka has figured out in his mind there is no trade out there that with this roster is going to make it a championship roster. So why would it get rid of like 2 picks to get players that would probably barely push me on the edge of the play-in tournament? Like, there's no trade out there. Like, okay, let's say for argument's sake we go with Dwayne. You trade Anthony Davis. What are you getting back for Anthony Davis? That's the first thing. Like, you're not going to get back an equal value for Anthony Davis because we can.
Well, not in terms of players, because if whoever's acquiring Anthony Davis is probably a team that wants to be good and who's going to trade good players for good players, that those trades don't happen in the NBA anymore.
So let's argue for a second that during Anthony Davis' ridiculous stretch, we can look at him, that player, as a top 10 player. We can look at that player in that moment as a top 10 player. So in arguments he has to make, he is a tradable asset. But then when you trade Anthony Davis, are you getting back a top 10 player? And the answer is no. Like, what are you getting back? And as Larry correctly said, anybody who trades for Anthony Davis is looking to go over the hump. And you're not getting back, you're not giving up a good player to get Anthony Davis. And then on top of that, the real crux of the matter is we have to accept, we all love LeBron James. We all think LeBron James is the top 3 player of all time. LeBron James is not that player anymore. Like, it is no longer where LeBron James is at the point in time that he can drag people into finals and win. Like that, not LeBron James.
Right.
Okay, stop. Okay, because now we have to now I have to be this obnoxious numbers guy.
Oh, but
okay,
LeBron,
in the year 2018, when LeBron James dragged a very bad Cavs team to the finals, he was averaging like 26 points a game, and he was shooting relatively okay. Just last season, when LeBron James was 1 or 2 missed games away from being one of the, if not the oldest scoring champions in the history of the league, he was averaging 30 points on 50% shooting from the field and like 30-something% shooting from 3. This season, this old LeBron James, who's somehow not a top 10 player anymore, and who can't drag a team to the playoffs, and is not the best team in the Lakers, he's averaging 29 points. He's still playing good basketball.
But hold on a minute. Hold on.
Why are we sitting here? Why are we sitting here acting like
it's not a good player? We are seeing that LeBron James is not the LeBron James.
But hold on.
He's playing better.
But hold on a minute.
The LeBron James that you're referencing as it pertains to dragging a team to the finals, that LeBron James in 2018, this LeBron James of this season, statistically, is playing better this season.
Right,
He's averaging more points. He's averaging more boards. He's averaging more assists. He's shooting better from the field.
Everybody's averaging more points.
What do you mean?
But hold on a minute.
Have you seen? Hold on. Crazy numbers. Everybody's averaging more.
Fellas, hold on a minute. No, don't let me make it seem like LeBron James was scoring 27, 28 points last season with 7 points and 6 assists, and all of a sudden this year the man is scoring 12 points and 2 rebounds and 2 assists.
He almost had a 47-point triple-double the other night.
Hold on a minute, right? First, I gotta say this, right? I still believe that LeBron James is a guy that can lead a team to a championship. Can he drag a team to a championship? No, because he's 38. But can he lead a team to a championship? Of course. That is not
as the best player on the team.
He's the best player on the team right now.
But hold on. Justin, this is semantics.
The team is bad because the roster is bad.
Fellas, hold on.
Right.
This is semantics.
Right.
He can lead a team to a championship. You don't have to be the best player on your team to lead a team to a championship. But hold on a minute. He can hold on, Justin. Just listen. He can lead a team to a championship. He has the experience. He knows how and when to turn it on and lead. And he doesn't have to be the best player. Look at the Phoenix Suns. Look at the Phoenix Suns. Right? Who's the best player on the Phoenix Suns last season? 2 seasons ago. Who's the best? Good. And who was the leader? And who was the leader of the team?
Devin Booker, because the team is bad without him right now.
But hold on a minute. So Chris Paul was not a leader. Chris Paul was not a leader in the locker room. Chris Paul was not leading the team to a championship.
Right, but Chris Paul can no longer be the best player on the
he said 2 years ago when they made the run to the finals, Justin.
But the point is,
Suns were in the finals. Who was leading the team?
I am not saying that he is the. Hold on. I'm not saying when I say he's a leader of a team that he can lead a team to a championship. I'm not saying he's the best player on the team.
But let's not. Let's talk about the reality. Let's not talk.
Okay, good. Right, so good.
Let's talk reality.
So coming back to reality
right now is that LeBron James is currently, we can all agree, is the best player on the Lakers team. We can agree right now because Davis is not playing.
Right.
We can also agree that LeBron James has been in a ridiculous stretch of scoring above 30.
Right.
We can also agree that all of that has still led to the Lakers being 13-21. We can all agree.
No, we can't. We can't.
Hold on,
that is where I disagree. No, we can't all agree on that. Because you got on your show, Justin, and as did Neil, and I got on my show, and we all sat here and we all talked about how badly this roster is constructed. So what we can't do is we can't sit here and say that this is a bad roster, and then on the other side of our mouth say, oh, LeBron can't lead a team. He's averaging 28 points. In the history of basketball, there have only been a handful of players in the history of basketball, 4 actually, in the 20th year of their career to average 10. He's averaging almost 30. He's the best. Hold on. He's the best player on the Lakers team. Fine. Right. If you want to sit here and tell me that they can't win a championship with him being the best player on the team, that's fine. All I'm going to say to you is this. I don't think that's true because LeBron at his best is averaging almost 30 and he's 38. How is that? In what world? Wait, no. In what world does a player averaging almost 30 on a basketball team? If Giannis was averaging nearly 30, which he is at this point, we look at him and say Giannis can lead a team to the championship. If Jason Tatum is averaging almost 30, we say Jason Tatum can lead a team to a championship. So what you're saying here, you're telling me is because LeBron James is 38, it doesn't matter that he's averaging almost 30 because he's 38. So because he's 38, he can't lead a team to a championship. That doesn't make any sense.
Giannis and Jason Tatum are doing more.
Justin. The team is bad. Doing more? No, Dwayne. Hold on. The team is bad, fellas. This is something that we are not. Hold on. Yeah. We skirting around this issue. We dancing around the issue. We saying one thing, we saying another thing, and we forgetting the main point that the team is poorly constructed. So it don't matter if LeBron James was 20 and could lead the team to a championship, or if he's 38 and could lead the team to a championship. It don't matter if he's the best player or he's the worst player. The point remains is that at 38, playing pretty well for a 38-year-old, he still kept right. Well. So the point. So here's. Let me bring it back. Let me come back home and come off the drugs. Right. At the end of the day, we talk about trades. We're talking about improving the team.
We're talking about trades,
right?
Not practice. Trades.
Right. So let's just not talk about LeBron James and his leadership. Let's not talk about the 38 points that he's scoring. 30 points he's scoring. No, let's talk about his age. Let's talk about none of that. Don't even let me talk about Anthony Davis being injured. Because really and truly, that matters not. I agree with what Larry is saying.
All of that
Hold on a minute. I agree with what you're saying, Larry, in that you cannot trade Anthony Davis for all that he don't play games and get back equal or better value. I agree with that. So trading Anthony Davis does not make sense. That is why when I said earlier, the Lakers do not have trade assets. They have trading pieces. Right? I see that as two different things because you can trade the bench players. You can trade anybody that isn't named LeBron James or Anthony Davis. But at the same time, those are not assets. Those are pieces. The problem the Lakers hold on.
Situation why we got there is to see that LeBron James is not the same player that it would make sense trading Anthony Davis because it is not like the players that you're going to get for Anthony Davis. LeBron James can drag those players to championship.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. I understand what you're saying, but to me, that is irrelevant. The reason why I think it is irrelevant is because, let me get it off the mind. If the Lakers were to trade LeBron James, that would be the gutsiest trade in the history of sports.
It would be.
Let me get that off our mind. So that speaks to the caliber of player that he is at 38. So let me dispel all of that.
Go ahead.
Let's dispel all of that.
Ask him just who the player he is. It's obviously the entire everything that encompasses who LeBron James is.
Regardless, Justin, the numbers to get to 27 points, 7 rebounds and 8 assists may not look as it did when he was 25, but the man getting there. So let us not downplay his production. Let us take But hold on. Hold on. All I am saying to y'all is we are focusing on things that don't matter. In the grand scheme of this question, LeBron James, Anthony Davis are on a team that is bad.
Agreed.
Right? Your roster is terrible. And it is so terrible, in fact, that you have no way to use the assets that you have, which is the picks, to trade and maneuver something because we have bad players. Right? So we have
to get to the next segment because we could go on. We're gonna go on and on and on.
No, this segment is good.
It is, but
can I just?
We don't have a 2-hour show, so we gotta move on. We already long overdue. To the last topic, and the one they rated.
Rob Linker.
Well, that too. The Phoenix Suns, as you all mentioned, 2 seasons removed from making the finals, now have lost 5 of their last 6 and dropped to, I want to say, 7th in the West. Larry, what's going wrong with the Phoenix Suns this season?
Well, every time I come on this show, there's a Suns topic. I mean, I don't know why Phoenix has become such an interesting team that we need to talk about them every time I come on. Like, the Suns are like whatever. Where's the Miami Heat topics, Justin?
It's a bad Miami Heat team. No one cares. That team is bad.
Hold on. Okay, they're bad now, just like Phoenix. But however, I mean, there's 2 things I love about talking basketball. Crapping on the Suns, crapping on the Lakers. I didn't get my fill just now, so maybe I could get my fill right now. So, however, first let me start off. The Phoenix Suns were a fake finals team in 2021.
Yeah,
I've said it before, and I've said it again. Every time I come on the show, every time I talk about the Suns, no matter what topic it is, I need to say that finals run in 2021 was fake. That's why when you look at strength of schedule, who a team plays matter. This is why when I discount the bubble and I say, well, the bubble was fake, we look at the teams that did well in the bubble, didn't do well the next year. So we can say,
hold on.
Well,
the bubble would be fake if Miami won the championship.
So your Heat team didn't get to the finals in the bubble.
I was just about to say.
And then we got swept in the first round the year after.
And then after that, you didn't get back to Eastern Conference finals.
Yes, and now we're bad again. So what? We haven't shown any consistency. So let me continue. All right.
So that's speaking to the bubble or the bad
look at
Miami Heat franchise.
In 2021, the Hawks made the Eastern Conference final. That was a fake run. They have not done anything since. So we need to put everything into context when we evaluate going forward. The Suns being a fake finals team in 21, what to do, they had the number 1 seed. The reason why they had the number 1 seed in 2020, the next year, 2022, no, they didn't. They hardly had any injuries, any major injuries. When we look at the league was ravaged with injuries last season.
To the Suns' credit, they were not just number 1 seed; they were beating teams badly. Like,
yes, and most teams didn't have their full roster every night, and more often than not, yes, Chris Paul missed some time.
All the wins, the team didn't have their full roster. But continue, go ahead.
No, I'm saying the opposition. Well, hold on. When you look at teams, I'm sure most times when you look at the box score, you see like someone is out, injuries, and that's why a lot of people would like the schedule to be reduced to reduce injuries. And but that's another conversation. So Phoenix Suns, not a fake team, and we saw in 2022 they were up 3-2. Game 7 on their home court and got beaten by Chris Paul hit a big 3 to cut the lead to deficit of 42. that was how the Suns season ended, right? So in my estimation, why are we even talking about the Suns? Because they're not.
We should talk about the Kings instead.
It's true. Yes, they have a better record. The Suns are not important enough that we should say, oh no, they have a bad stretch. Let's talk about them. They need fixing. But I would say the reason for this bad stretch, because to Monty's credit, great coach. He makes it. They play hard at St. Aidan most nights. Mikal Bridges always shows up. Devin Booker has improved every season that Monty has been there. But this year, ravaged by injuries. Devin Booker has missed. Going to miss the next 4 weeks, I think. And Chris Paul has missed time. Cameron Payne has missed time. Cam Johnson has missed time. So, I mean, I think Ayton has even missed a little bit of time. So I think the reason why they're not as consistent, because they rack up these regular season wins by one being healthy all the time, and they just beat up on injured teams. And then they beat up on injured teams in the playoffs, and people think, oh my gosh, this team is just on the precipice of winning a championship. No. But their injuries are the reason why this team is not as good. And another reason is Chris Paul. Chris Paul's production, I mean, yes, like LeBron James, he's 37 years old. All of his numbers are down. PR is down. True shooting is down. Usage, which isn't very high, is down. And the fact that his play has been so poor means that Ayton, is less involved in the offense. So I think that Phoenix, the only thing I worry about Phoenix is this, but if Booker plays, the team will rack up regular season wins. But I think they're in trouble right now because of the injuries, the absences, and Chris Paul's play. I think he's cooked. I think it's cut. And I think Dwayne mentioned, I don't want to steal his tape, but he mentioned something about a rebuild earlier. So I'm curious to see what he's going to say about that.
You know I have DeAndre Ayton in my back pocket, so you leave him to me. Dwayne, what's going on with the Phoenix Suns?
They suck. They're the ultimate regular season warriors. They are now what the Utah Jazz were the last few years. They had Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. They stink. And you can sit here, you can try to paint this rose gold romantic idea of the Phoenix Suns and how they've got Monty Williams and they've got Chris Paul and they've got Devin Booker. Here's the deal, right? The Phoenix Suns are not a good basketball team. The Phoenix Suns, I don't want to be the one to tell you this, Justin, but I would say I don't know Larry very well, so I can't sit here and comment on the content of Larry's character. I can comment on the content of Neil's character because I've known him for a little over a year now. Neil, I know, tells you the hard, cold truth, and you don't like to hear it. And I'm sure I've never met Marsha. Marsha seems like a wonderful lady. I'd love to meet Marsha one day, work with her one day. She also, I'm sure, tells you about yourself. Justin, you know me. I'm going to give it to you real. The Suns were never a good basketball team. Like, let's just call a spade here. The Phoenix Suns have always been the most opportunistic of the regular season warriors. We sit here and we talk about this basketball team. I get it. Monty Williams is fantastic. Chris Paul, he does this thing where he comes and he resurrects a franchise and leads them to championship glory. Like, here's the truth of the matter, and this one's going to hurt. Like, Chris Paul has and always will be liable defensively when it really, really matters. That's just who he is. Devin Booker, I get it. He's the only active player in the NBA right now to score 70. He just had 60 something, I think, the other night. Plays great. Looks fantastic. He's not that reliable when it really, really matters. This roster, this deepest bench in basketball that you've been boasting about for the better part of the last 2.5 years, this roster is not as sexy, Justin, as you want to make it seem. The Phoenix Suns are not a good basketball team. The Phoenix Suns take advantage of very, very small, minute issues like injuries. Because here's the deal. Let's face it. If AD's not hurt against when they have to play the Lakers, they don't even make it out of the first round a couple of years ago. That's number one. Number two, and most importantly, and here's the thing.
The Lakers beaten the Phoenix Suns in a single game since going up 2-1.
But when we talk about the Lakers, we passed that segment, fellas.
Listen. All I'm saying is the Suns suck. You know how I know the Suns suck? Because Luka Doncic owns the Phoenix Suns. And Luka Doncic on national TV in primetime, Game 7, showed the world, not just you Suns, not just the what's the name of the arena? I don't even know. Not just the thousands of fans in attendance in the arena that night, not just all of you Phoenix Suns fans, both in Arizona, on the continent of the United States, and abroad. Every human being that lays eyes on an NBA basketball game, Luka Doncic exposed the Phoenix Suns for what they really are. The ultimate, and I mean the ultimate front runner. This is not a good basketball team when their backs are against the wall. This is not a good basketball team when they have to shut down one guy. Shut down one guy, you and the basketball team. This is not as good of a basketball team as you want to make it be. And I know you're going to come on here and you're going to talk about how there's all this silver lining and all this and all that. This is the same basketball team, by the way. This is the same basketball team, by the way, that you have admitted has a guy in DeAndre Ayton who's Charmin soft. And I'm supposed to sit here and think that Phoenix can compete with a guy like I hate to say this because I don't really love him, but a guy like Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota. He's supposed to compete with Nikola Jokic. He's supposed to compete with a healthy Anthony Davis, and he's Charmin soft. The Phoenix Suns are the ultimate front runners. They are regular season warriors. Are the Suns going to make the playoffs? Sure, because they're good enough to do that. But once again, when it really, really matters, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and the whole Phoenix Suns crew are going to fall short. They did it in the finals in 2021. They did it in Game 7 of the conference semis last year. And whether it's Game 7 or whatever game it is this year, whenever it is, the Phoenix Suns, just when it matters most, as Stephen A. always says about the Cowboys, what can go wrong will go wrong. And they will find a way to show you their true colors. Justin, I don't even know why you're a Phoenix Suns fan. Not good. Not good.
So same thing, and I thought I was going to crap on the Suns. Go right ahead, Neil. What's wrong with Phoenix?
Well, I'm gonna say exactly what Dwayne is saying, but just not as enthusiastic. And I will even say this, right? I didn't even amend Dwayne's commentary, right? He said Chris Paul, Devin. He ain't gotta go past Chris Paul. He doesn't have to go past Chris Paul because Chris Paul is the ultimate playoff pretender. The ultimate. He's crap on playoff P, pandemic P, whatever we want to call it in Paul George. Nah, Chris Paul is that man. He is not good in the playoffs. He has no. The stats show it and everything like that. He's not getting any playoffs. No. The problem with the Phoenix Suns. I agree with Larry. There are a lot of injuries. A lot of things are going kind of hard for the Phoenix Suns. But this is also exposing whom I believe that you're going to crop on, Justin. DeAndre Ayton. That man is soft. That man is, Dwayne said Sharma soft. That man is marshmallow soft. That man is. He does not strike fear. My heart's on any side of the basketball.
For me,
never mind. I can't say
right? That. So when you say ASAP, right? The Phoenix Suns to me have always been, especially in recent times, the team that will be about middle of the pack to the upper echelon of the West, and they will get to the playoffs, and they may even get out the first round. But I never saw them as being that team that people should fear. No, point remains, they had some success in recent years. And the question is, what's wrong with the Suns, right? I think it is high time. I feel so bad for Devin Booker, right? Because this boy is a talent. This boy is walking about murder. And he doesn't deserve soft and the corpse of Chris Paul. He doesn't deserve that. You understand what I mean? I think it was Dwayne or was it Larry? Mikal Bridges, they do have bright spots on the team. It's just that they've been injured, right? Cams, Mikal Bridges, those guys are really good. They bring it every night. It's just unfortunate that they've been injured, right? But yeah, if I really want to speak to what is wrong with the Suns, I ain't gonna speak to what's wrong with the Suns today. I can speak to what's been wrong with the Suns for the last few years. Is that they are on paper constructed to win an NBA championship, but they are not in practice. They are not that team. They don't. To me, I don't see that. When you have somebody like DeAndre Ayton, I don't see him being that imposing force to lead a team to out of the Western Conference Finals. Chris Paul, we know, evaporates when it comes to the further he goes in the playoffs, the smaller he's get. We could say he's popped down. He get injured and stuff like that. Larry shaking his head, right? I want Larry to refute me. Give me proof and stats. Tell me how the man get in the playoffs. I got my stats too.
I will look them up. Give me time. I'll look them up.
All right, good, because I know.
I know Chris Paul is a playoff performer.
So what you will say, base?
Hold on, Justin. Also, I forgot that Jay Crowder has also not played for the Suns, so that's another absence.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything right. So initially, let me start with Larry's point. A fake finals team, I will say that I will agree with Larry to point that the Suns were not as good as their finals run suggested because, like you said, they got through the injured Lakers team that haven't lost the six. But anyway, Anthony Davis went down. They beat them in the first round. Then they had to play a Denver Nuggets team that was injured all across the board except for Nikola Jokic. Played a Clippers team that was without Kawhi Leonard. And still, you still have to play who's in front of you. They got to NBA Finals, went up 2-0. But reality situation, as Larry and I talk about it off the screen, Giannis is the best player in the league. And the Milwaukee Bucks were a bigger and better team. The better team won in the end. They figured out Chris Paul. So now to this season, right? They made that finals run, which they were fortunate. I won't say lucky. They were fortunate because everyone they played had some key injuries and we were healthy. But then the expectations grew, and the expectations should not have been on this team. Granted, again, the following season, they had a 60-plus win season, and they were extremely great. They were very healthy, and they were great on both ends of the floor. But like we point out, this team doesn't shoot enough threes, rely on mid-range, and the reality situation, when we traded for Chris Paul, I was always worried, or when we acquired Chris Paul, I was worried about Father Time eventually catching up. So this season, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Let's start, and we'll list them quickly. like, you can't look past the offseason drama with Robert Sarver and that cloud hanging over the team. Like, you just can't look past it. Whether that has a major impact, they will never know, but obviously it's there. Chris Paul is aging before our very eyes. To Larry's point, he's probably even washed. Like, Chris Paul is not the Chris Paul we saw 2 seasons ago when his Suns made the run to the NBA Finals. Then Jay Crowder, a very key piece to our finals run and our last season's regular season success. The two sides are odds. Jay Crowder has not played a single game for the Suns, and the Suns are looking to trade him, have not traded him. So already you're down one man. Then the guy who replaced him that was playing well in the starting lineup, again, both Larry and Neil mentioned, got hurt and has not played a game in about 2 months, which is Cam Johnson. Then you go through a list of injuries. Cam Johnson, Cam Payne, Devin Booker, a top 10 player in my estimation right now in the NBA, hurt. And we're not going to see him for the foreseeable future. So, and again, this Suns roster is not built anymore to sustain or be able to survive an injury to Devin Booker. You just can't. You can survive an injury to Chris Paul, but not to Devin Booker. And then there's a piece I told you all to leave for me, which is the obvious friction between the head coach and DeAndre Ayton. And so when DeAndre Ayton in the offseason was asking for a max contract, like, and the Suns told him no, this is the reason why. With Chris Paul being hurt, with Cam Johnson being hurt, with Jay Crowder not playing, with Devin Booker not playing right now due to injury, this should be, if you were indeed the max player that you were telling us you would be, this is now where you show us that you lead the team in everything, where, you know, the team can survive these absences, and you're not that guy. But the Phoenix Suns already knew that. I knew that. And I could go on and on and on, but let me just keep it quick. DeAndre Ayton does not do the things that big men should do. And what's hurtful is that he has the mobility. He's an agile center. He has great hands, has soft touch around the rim. He doesn't play with force. He doesn't play with physicality. He does not dunk often. He does not strike fear in opposing defenses. He does not protect the rim. He does not go after offensive rebounds, so defenses don't feel his pressure on the glass. There are so many problems with DeAndre Ayton, and the fact that Phoenix Suns are such a small team, you would hope that, you know, DeAndre Ayton was an imposing figure in the middle for a team that has to play so small, and that's not that dude. Like, all of these things are going wrong. And a reality situation with Chris Paul aging right before our very eyes, DeAndre Ayton not the player that he thought he is or he thinks he is. Devin Booker suffering a lot with his hamstring injuries. I don't know what's going to become his team. Like, I strip it all down and keep Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges and look to trade see what I can get for Ayton, see who would take Chris Paul if there's a team who thinks that they're the edge. Like, if there's a team that thinks that they're a veteran player away from winning a championship, see what I get for Chris Paul. I just strip it all down and leave Mikal Bridges and Devin Booker, and just accept that. And I've told Larry this: the Suns' window after getting to the finals and not winning was closed. Like, it's immediately it was done. It was done from there. Like that was the opportunity to win a championship. Every team that has won a championship has had some sort of luck in their favor. The Phoenix Suns had a lot of luck in the 2020-2021 season. They didn't capitalize fully on it, and I suspect that this championship window is closed. So, guys, we are well over here.
Wait, hold on. We got one more segment.
I just have a question. I just have a question. And I know we have to go, so I just. This is the second time tonight I've heard this. So now I'm curious. Who are the 10 best players in the NBA? Because this is the second time tonight I've heard that Devin Booker's on that list, which is news to me. Who are the 10 best players in basketball today?
You want me to list them in order or any given 10? Well,
however you choose. I just want to hear the 10 best players in basketball.
Luka, Giannis, Embiid, Tatum, Kyrie. What was the other boy name?
Jokic.
I didn't call him already?
I'll call the names for you.
Yeah.
So, in any given some order, Giannis, Steph, Luka, Jokic, Embiid, Tatum, Devin Booker, and I'm missing about 3. Like, I don't know what. I don't.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
No,
LeBron. Stop it. Stop that.
You don't believe
what?
Larry, stop it. Larry, stop that.
The 10 best players in basketball,
Larry.
I thought was a
Have you
very
seen what Shea has been doing this season? I mean, hold on.
season, but he's not top 10. He wasn't even.
It resulted in wins, Larry.
We're talking about right now.
Has it resulted in wins, Larry?
No, who are the 10
They have
best
a better.
players?
They have the same record as the Lakers, and he's playing with babies. He's playing with
He's
babies.
a baby.
But do you
And
believe?
he's 24.
24.
Has he played better than LeBron this season? Absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't have
Way better.
But I
Way
don't.
better.
Remember, I don't have LeBron as a top 10 player right now.
Me neither.
Look at the LeBron.
But I'm saying
right
Shea Gilgeous has been better than LeBron James this season.
I am not.
By far.
That's not telling you that he's a top 10 player right now. That's what I'm saying.
The 10
Well,
best
I'm just
players
saying,
in
we're looking at these numbers on these points per game, and we freaking out, right? But
Yes.
I'm just saying, don't let me use that as a barometer just to say that.
But we talked about this, like the top 10, right? It's all nice to put up numbers, but what we always talk about this. What impact do you have on winning basketball? And as good as Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has been, and he has been very good, has that been impacting on wins? And the answer is no.
I would say yes.
No.
Again, I thought this was open and shut, like very simple, very cut and dry, maybe a few wavering. The 10 best
We need
players.
to do a Shea episode.
Yeah, this is the next episode. But yeah. And Damian Lillard is in there. But I want to put Kawhi, but also I can't forget Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. So that's 9. So I'm missing the 10th. Yeah, but like.
Well, I'd put Shea up there. Zion, maybe.
Wait, Devin Booker's better than Ja Morant, Justin?
Yes. Yes, and yes. And yeah.
I probably would say yes. I think me and Justin had this conversation like 2 years ago.
We did.
And I thought Ja Morant was better than Booker 2 years ago, but I don't know. I think they're probably like almost even.
I would concede if you put Ja Morant in top 10, yeah, I'm good with that stuff. So, but like you can't see the 10 I just mentioned, so I can go through them again. Giannis, Steph Curry, Luka, Jokic, Embiid, Kevin Durant, Tatum, Booker, Ja Morant, and Damian Lillard. We can't, in all honesty, think right now. And again, LeBron James is the top 3 player in my estimation of all time. Top 2 in some people, even number 1 of all time. There's no debate about that. But at this current moment, those 10 players I just called, we don't think that LeBron James is better than any of those 10
Wait, stop saying we. Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. Stop saying we. LeBron James is better than Damian Lillard right now. He's better than Devin Booker right now. Like, stop it. Stop it.
I wanted to refute a point earlier that Dwayne made when he said, LeBron James, he's averaging 30 a game. You see how many players are averaging 30? Like, the offensive environment right now is crazy. Like, averaging 30 when you have the ball every single time, like, it's not that big a deal. What matters is the efficiency, right?
He's shooting 50% from the field.
Yes.
His effective shooting percentage is at 56%. What are we talking about?
His push is 58%, and the league average is 57%. Like, look at the players that are. Jokic's true shooting percentage is almost 70%. Durant,
how many shots a game does Jokic take, and how many of those shots are from 3? Or outside of?
Why is LeBron shooting shots
outside of 15 feet?
Why is LeBron shooting so many threes?
Right, we're gonna save this conversation for. Yeah, so plug yourself. Tell people how to find you and what you got coming up next. Dwayne, he's the only other.
I'm just really stuck here. I'm really shocked at the fact that in the year of our Lord 2023, LeBron James is no longer a top 10 player. He's averaging 29, 8, and 6. What are we doing? Anyway, I just need one lovely person watching the show to head over to @GTP Marcus on YouTube and subscribe so I can have 150 subscribers. That's really all I care about at this point.
Honestly, though, head over to GTP Marcus. That's Go Talk with Marcus. Wherever you listen to your podcast, YouTube, wherever you listen, just please go over and give him 150 subscribers so you'll start coming to our show and disturbing our podcast. But I'm just joking. Neil, you have a great podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tell the people what you talk about and how to find you.
Well, this is disgusting. I think that this show, I think we should have a tag team next time, me and Dwayne versus you and Larry, because this is anyhow. You can check out the Senate podcast. We are a show that speaks from the perspective of Caribbean men about life, love, and relationships. You can check us out every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Barbados time on YouTube. Check us out. Sometimes it get a little contentious. We just showing you how the game is being played and how to let men know, you're not as bad as you think. Let me put it like that.
That's 8 p.m. Caribbean time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Larry's a guest on the show. He doesn't have his own podcast, but we're not here just knocking on him. If you want this show, though, we're here usually every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. We're live tonight because, Neil does other things other than podcasts. Who knew? But, check us out if you want our short form content. We are on Indeed, on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. That's hashtag This Just In. Make sure to put the hashtag in front of the This Just In. And we shoot a live YouTube streaming show every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. So for Larry, for Neil, for Dwayne, I am indeed Justin of hashtag This Just In saying no. Thank you for wasting your time listening to grown men talk basketball that never played at that level. Good night.
And just to be bad mind, I put the lower third for the Kings and the upper third for the Kings because they will not let I just want the people to know that it really was a bad segment we were going to talk about last. Anyhow, have a good night.
I thought it would have been bad.
I know that after tonight, you don't have to look up at the stars. No.
Come take a look at my dream world.
Tonight, you don't have to look up at the stars.
Chat, if you wanna come get it, then come for it. I'm so clean, my kick's nice, I'm Chuck Norris. Minute made the beat bounce, had to jump on it. Run for it, run, Gump Forrest Gump like hollow pumps, you gotta jump. No trouble, no double, I got a stun. You don't have to look up at the stars. Make one wish, you're looking at a star. Swag so fresh, you can put it in the jar.